Okay, so welcome to another online class for STIA 1113 Programming 1. Okay, today I'm going to talk about getting input from user. So the um, the applications that we are looking at in Programming 1 is basically what we call as a terminal-based application. So your program is going to be display as a text-based interface in the terminal. So as in NetBean, you're going to get your output down here. Okay, so to get input from user, so it means that you want to receive value, you want to get value from user. So for example, if you request user for a certain number or request user for their name, for their age, so for that you need to determine first the type of data that you would like to receive from user. For example, if you request user their name, so name is in what we call as string, okay, because you're going to get a series of text as a name. So that basically is very important first, because we need to determine the type of data before we can accept the value from user. Okay, so to receive data from user, we need to use what we call as a scanner class. Okay, so to use scanner class, you need to define the class name scanner. So it always starts with capital S, scanner, spacebar, and then you have the object name here, scanner. So the object name basically can be anything. You can put anything here as long as it is in one word. Okay, this is basically just your what we call as an object name. But for this example, normally the class name and then the object name should be the same name with the class name but with small letter. So here I'm going to use scanner equal new keyword new, okay, small letter, equal new scanner in bracket system.in. Okay, so by default you're going to get this error. Okay, you're going to get this error. So this error means that you need to import this class into your project. So by default you're not going to get anything. So by that you need to import the class scanner into your project. So the class scanner basically in NetBean is going to be easy. Okay, all you need to do is you just hover your mouse over the class name, and then you just select this, like this indicator here, and select add import java.util.scanner. So you can see up here you're going to get one new entry if you press that. So you can see import java.util.scanner, or you can do it by manual. Okay, if you want to do it by you can also do it manually. Import java.util.scanner. Okay, so basically the same. If you use other than NetBean, such as jgrabs, you need to do this manually. Okay, so this is the location where you import all the required classes in Java. Okay, so outside the class name. Okay, coming back to scanner. So once you define the object scanner, now you need to decide to ask from user. So let's say I want to ask for user name. Okay, so we need to SOP system.out.print line what is your name. Okay, or yeah, anything, what is your name. So when you request the user for their name, after that you need to get the value. You need to assign a variable to the value that user will input. So this statement requests for username. So the type of data that we get is data type string. So to store the value that user input through the terminal, so we define the variable, let's say name equal the object scanner here dot read dot next line. Okay, so the next line method basically will read the input from user and assign that value to a variable called name. Okay, so if we run this project or this code now, so basically what it does, so you get the following: what is your name? So basically the program now waiting for user to input data, to input name. That you can see down here, the program is actually running and waiting. Okay, so if I input my name and the program terminated, okay, built successful total time, because our instruction here stop at only assign the value that user input from line number 21 to name. But if you notice that there's a gray indicator under the variable name is not used. So the variable is not being used by any instruction or by any codes. So if you want to print or you want to do something with the variable, for example, we just print back the value using system.out.println. So we just show back the value you have, or maybe you can just welcome variable name. Okay, so with line number 23 here, that basically will allow me to print back the value of the variable. So let's say Hanis, welcome Hanis. So you can see the value now is being printed out, and there's no gray indicator under and name variable because the variable has been used. Okay, so the next line method basically for string type variable. So what if you have number? So when user input number, you want to use that number and perform some operation, some basic arithmetic operation. So with that, so basically we're going to go through the same process. So we tells user what input that we want. So enter first integer, okay, because we just want to get the integer number. Okay, so now we need to assign, because the value here is an integer value, so we need to assign this to variable type integer. Okay, value, for example, the variable name is value a equal, so we still use the same object scanner, but now the variable that we want to store is an integer type. We need to use next integer. Okay, so now whatever user input from this line will be stored into value A. So if I print back the value A is plus value A. Okay, so if you run, enter your first integer, let's say 5. Okay, so value A is 5. This will print out back the variable value A. However, if you try to put a different value, a different type of value, for example 5.0, this is a decimal value, so you're going to get the following error. So this is what we call as a runtime error, input mismatch. The instruction at line number 22 here waiting for an integer value, but user provided with a double value or with a float value. So the program will shows this error of input mismatch exception exactly at line number 22. You can see it here. Okay, line number 22. So you can only input data type integer. You cannot put other than that. Okay, so if you like to request second value, so you need to go back requesting user of the data that you want user to enter. So in this case, I'm going to request for enter second integer, and then again we need to repeat the process, but this time we just use for the value B. Okay, so you can see the repetition here. You ask user for the input, the type of input, and then you assign value to a variable, and then you do it again. So this is what we call as the logical programming. So you move from one instruction to another instruction to another instruction until the end. Okay, so you have here begins and here is end. Okay, so what we want to do with both variable, let's say we just want to print out the simple plus operation with the simple addition operation. So this is where we process value integer B, also integer result, equal value A plus value B. Okay, so this is basically the process to add value A and B, and you get that value into result variable. Okay, so then you want to print out the value, so that is easy. A, or just value A plus value B is equal result. Okay, so this is basically just to print out value A, value B here, this name, and then the result of the operation, value A plus B, will be put here, and it will print out this SOP. So if I enter the first integer, run the program, let's say 6, enter second integer 3, value A plus value B equal 9. So that basically how simple it is when you request input from user, assign the value, request again, assign the value. If you have 10, this is basically the flow, the logical flow that you need to follow. Okay, so that basically how you use. So if you want to use a different data type, so here this is for integer. So if you like to use a different value other than integer, for example, I just tell user to enter first number, enter second number, and you want to assign the value not to integer, but let's say to double. Okay, double value, but then here you need to change into next double. It goes the same with this one. The integer value, not the integer value, but now the data type is the double, and also the same when you scan using next double, and the result will be stored, sorry, not double, what's there, and the result will be also stored in result. So when you run this program, you get, let's say you want to add 5.6 plus 3.2. Okay, you get 8.8. Value A plus value B equal 8.8. So now the program allow us to use double data type. So again, it still follow the same principle. When you request input from user, you need to request first to the terminal and then assign the value to a variable, and you need to determine first the type of variable that you want to use in your program. Okay, so in this case we use a double, so both value are in double. So when you add the operation for value A variable plus add value B variable, and that those operation assigned to the result value, and then you just print back the result. You don't print value A, you don't print value B, because this is just for one unprocessed data. So the one that we want is result. So value A plus value B concatenate with result. Okay, so you can see the use of scanner is very easy. You import the class scanner with the object name here. So as I mentioned before, you can give it any names, but normally we use the lowercase name because Java is what we call as case sensitive programming. Okay, so that basically it for this time.